Well, Dale, we're back.
We're back, Howard.
We're
Yes.
back.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. So let's get into it. So straight up, the Cup.
Homework from last week.
Homework from last week. So I did find it. Wasn't hard. It was just outside. But 4th month, 1940. So on the pushy, love it.
Yep.
So we've still got a lot of memorabilia laying around the place. So, mate, photos. Lots of photos.
Yes,
So-
got a lot to get through.
You were meant to get some to me last time.
And I had some homework. So I've come
you
to
had the
party
homework
today.
for last one, but you've got it now. So,
Let me
mate,
off,
the Gemmy,
yep.
tell me about it.
Yes, little Gemini, clean little car, and fun little first car, and then graduated, went back in time to an EH.
Nice looking
Had
EH.
a couple of them, yeah, it was a cool looking car. And
Finally,
then stepped up to the big banger,
Yeah.
the big genuine Bathurst.
so now, this was when you're selling or when you're buying?
This is when I was selling, unfortunately.
damn.
Silly boy.
So
Anyway.
16 and a half.
Yeah, it didn't get 16 and a half.
No. Oh, if only we
Anyway,
knew. If only we knew.
Anyway,
Anyhow, so that's Dale's car. So just to,
it's enough Holdens for you,
Enough
Howard,
Holdens.
all right? You'll be right now.
so mate, I said we'd go back to Kopi
Yep.
with some photos that my brother was sending, and I went out and looked on the net in the sense that I asked for some help on the net, and I did get that. And part of that come with my brother was the first one was I talked about that set of Stromies, the 8 Stromies.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
there wasn't 8, there was 6.
That's right. Neither of us could count. It's
No.
okay.
And it was on a Chev, not a Chrysler.
But it's in the back of a Ford Ute.
It's in the back of a Ford Ute. Looks like an XY. So just for those that watch, that's the update on that.
Yep.
And then a lot of photos of the old boats that went to the main races. So that was a local boat, Emma. That was Trevor Church. And then check out some of these. I mean, imagine sitting in the back of that. And then I love the
Scary
names.
stuff.
I love
Yes,
the names.
great names.
The Boss, Katarina,
Yep.
Hottie,
Hottie.
Outlaw.
Oh, you needed earplugs and white knuckles standing
Mate,
under them.
absolutely flying. So it was really cool that people got back to me with that stuff. And then one of the big ones was Falcon. So we had those black and white shots
Yes.
of Falcon.
Yes.
And Christy Harris, her family still own the boat.
Wow.
So they've had it 40 or 50 years, and it's now heading through the generation. So there's an old shot that she sent Bev back at the lake. And then that was her and a brother.
She's so young there.
And then this one is their children, so
Yeah.
the third generation of that family, and they've still got the boat. It's still running, and yeah, just
A lot of love for that
lot of
boat.
love for that boat. And some of that love was the bloke behind there needed a bit of it because he'd obviously come a gutser, and looking at that was a hydroplane, and obviously Falcon was on duty that day.
Yep.
Gotta love the tie.
Prim and proper.
Back in the day.
Yep.
So talking about back in the day, mate.
Talking about prim and proper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
A
nice.
couple of stunners.
Yep. So that's got to be the 60s. And then Combine.
Yes.
So my brother, if you want to see the whole story, go back and look at the last one. But
Yep.
my brother started racing this for my dad because my dad got injured. And that was my brother's first car, the 63 Fairlane. And of course,
That looks
people that
familiar.
know my background know that Rock 4 was a 63 Fairlane. Now, there's sort of no reference to that in my mind that I built that because he had that. It was just the fact that when I wanted a 60s Ford with wings, I found a 63 Holden. Oh no! Found a 63.
I've converted him.
Found a 63 Fairlane, and that's what I did back in 1990.
Yep.
So, a couple of shots here. Someone sent through of Combine full flight, and that's my dad driving that. And then that one you can see the bill. That's my
That's
brother.
a skinny dad.
Yeah, so he tells me he was 17 when he first started racing, so I reckon that'd be that shot. And then another guy sent a photo through that he bought Combine in '89
Okay.
and had it for a while, and then it went, I think by memory, to Western Australia.
Right.
So it's still going.
Yes.
So, mate, check this one out. So, love the T-shirt.
The Onga.
South Australia.
Yep.
And,
wheels and rear louvers.
Wheels and louvers.
You'll love your rear
Mud
louvers.
flaps.
Yes.
All sorts of things.
All the accessories.
All the accessories.
Yes.
So I just love that shotter, and that was cool. And then once again, someone posted this one up with the parade. So Saturday morning, before the races started, because the races are like 100 k's away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'd have the parade, and all the people are out. But look at the cars, mate.
Yeah.
I think Broken Hill might have been a bit of a Holden town.
There's a few there.
Well, I can't see a Ford.
No, I can see one on the right.
Yeah.
Far right. Looks like an XR.
So that's all that early stuff, and I really appreciate people sending that in because it helps to make what we're doing, because I've only got so many photos, family photos. So what we're going to cover now for this episode is me starting work and then working through to late 70s. And the next photo there now is actually off a calendar, and it's a bit before my time, but the building looked a lot like that, and in fact still looks a lot like that. And when I came home from boarding school, I said to my dad, so what's happening? He goes, well, you can start work Monday. So that's cool. So obviously there's a photo there, so I started at the Ford dealership. And the reason that my dad had anything to do with that is he was a part owner of the dealership, like a silent part.
Silent part,
Yeah. So I got started there, and I worked initially as a detailer. Used to wash a few cars. Car washer. And then
it's a good name.
Used to wash the whole lot.
The
whole lot out the front.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did that, and then part of that detailing is I've left school, I've got no money, got no car, but I work at a dealership and my dad's got a bit of a share in it, so I've done a deal.
Got a bit of pull being the boss's son, or one of the boss's sons.
Yeah, so I've done a deal that if I detail the car, I'll drive it for the week, bring it back clean and get another one.
Make sure it runs perfectly okay.
So I must have done a good job because I did that for about 2 years. So I didn't actually buy my first car because I didn't need one. So that was going on, and at the same time I'd moved on to spare parts. So the photo you see now is the current dealership, which is in that same building on the same lot. Got the big fence out the front now. And the two roller doors there was where the spare parts department was, and I worked there. Then the workshop was on the left. So I spent probably 18 months in spares, I think, before I got moved down to the workshop to do the service claims.
Moved up.
Work with the service department. But before we got to do that, I missed a photo, and that is the fact that when I was doing spares, no computers, mate.
No.
It was all catalogues. So you had to learn to do that, and then we moved on to microfiche.
Yes.
So I've still got one of those.
I've seen you use that microfiche or a microfiche like that.
And I've got enough memory of those days still going on to recognise the number and what it means and where it goes, which helps in what we do, obviously. And that whole process, I think, has helped to what I do now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To understand. The cars I'm working on now, I used to sell the parts for them when they were brand new. So did the parts, moved down to the workshop, and then the slide that's up now comes from someone sent that to me probably 5 or 10 years ago, asking me whether this was me, because this is out of the service book, out of an XA Falcon, and the service advisor on there is Howard Astill.
And they asked you, is that the Howard Astill?
That's
so
the
it's
one.
coming up again.
Is that possible? And I go, well, it is possible, because I worked at a dealership, and I don't recall ever being called the service advisor, but obviously I was, because it's written down.
It's in black and white.
So that was December 76, so 19. So that would have been a bit of a shock if you bought a new car and I want to talk to the service advisor, and
It's a bit wet behind the ears.
Howard comes out and goes, yeah, that'd be me.
Yeah.
So service department, life's good, cruising along, and next thing you know, I'm selling cars.
Yep.
So it's like, when's this going to end, you know? But anyhow, so the interesting part is the dealership not only sold Fords, sold Honda. So, and they'd done that for some time. And I recall, bikes, not cars. And I remember my dad, when I was a real young bloke, going over to Japan, doing the tour of the factory in Japan. I think they made Japan.
Yes.
Yes, Japan. So the interesting part about it all was that my dad always said, you're not to have a motorbike. They're dangerous.
No.
So you race cars, race boats.
Go out in the water.
Do whatever you like, but you're not having a motorbike.
Not a motorbike.
So what do you do when you're told you can't have something?
Sneaky Howard.
So the next photo there with the two bikes with the Argent motors is my bike that I'm not allowed to have, and my mate's bike, Tony Rowe. So now Tony Rowe, I met at the dealership, and Tony started his apprenticeship roughly when I started there. So we'd hit it off pretty good, become good mates, spent a lot of time together. And because I'd left boarding school, I didn't really know too many people in Broken Hill my age because I'd left for 4 or 5 years and then come back, and I didn't really mix when I come home because I was working for the old man and doing whatever. So I hung around with the boys and they'd all been riding bikes for a long time. And then I decided I'd get a bike and
You
ride.
thought that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it didn't work so well. It's not something you pick up overnight, and if you start when you're a little tacker. So they were all pretty good riders, and Tony especially was a very good dirt rider and motocross rider. And those two bikes there, the reason for the signs on them is the back one was mine, and then the front one was one off the lot, so to speak. And we went out and did an enduro, and what happens when you do an enduro in Broken Hill and it rains a bit?
Yeah, and that with front wheels look like 50-cent pieces.
It's not looking real flash. So quick detail and put it back on the lot maybe. So yeah, that was. I don't think I ended it well that day. But it wasn't my best thing motorbikes, but I really did enjoy it. And what I found was that the MT wasn't real quick, so I decided I'd get a CR 250, the motocross. So the picture you see there is someone's nice restoration, and I just found,
they never looked that good.
Found it on the net. So I had one of those, and it was a bit of a slug anyhow, and I made all sorts of modifications to it. It was never really that good, but I had one of those, and I'd had a few injuries from that bike. But I'd starting to realise that riding's probably not my forte.
Not your specialty.
So you'll see there the picture now, the little Cortina. So Rowie had the Cortina, and we used to go away and he'd be racing and some of his mates would be racing. And at that point in time, I was basically running mechanic.
Yep.
So
pit crew extraordinaire.
Pit crew, fuel them up, chain lube, straighten wheels, all that sort of stuff. And Tony was racing a 125, a CR 125, his own bike. And then we approached the old man about some sponsorship through the business, through the Honda dealership, to step up to a 250 as well.
Yep.
So they come to the party there, and we ended up travelling around. He was racing 2 categories, so he's in 125 and 250. So I'm busy in the pits, he's out riding. We'd finish the day, go and have a couple of sherbets and head home again. So I think our biggest year was we were away 26 weekends for the year.
Big commitment, isn't it?
Yeah. So he was very good at it, and he did it for a long time and was very successful as a rider, and I enjoyed the process. But the photo there, you can see the black and white one, that just reminds me of exactly what was going on. I can hear them bikes and smell the fuel, and that one there,
taste the dirt.
I reckon that one would be Peary, Port Peary, down in South Australia, and I just pulled that off the net as well. But we had a lot of good times and travelled a lot, seen a lot, met a lot of people. It was really good times. So my sort of riding career was over fairly early, but I thought I'd have one more flash.
Yes.
So we pre-entered both of us on the 125 in 2 different grades. So I've gone out in the first practice, come around the corner, guy sticks his foot on the bike, gives me a little shove, I'm over the cliff, boom, job's done. So 2 broken wrists.
That's the end of that career.
Knee, so I'm like 2 and 1, I've got not much left.
Now,
So
you did have a little memento here.
I did, I showed you earlier and I forgot about that. Yeah, so there's my licence. So that's the...
you can see why it's pristine,
the
everyone,
Auto
because
Cycle Council of
it was
Australia.
only used one time.
I only got it out once, so
They must have folded it away with your broken wrist pretty well.
February 77 that was. So that was the once and only competitive run for Howard.
He doesn't throw
motocross.
stuff away, see?
I don't. So that's the track.
Yes.
So that nice picture.
The scene of the crime, so to speak.
Crystal Brook. And I could talk about it for hours, but we're going to move on because we haven't got that much time. So, stock cars. They just won't go away.
Well, they're a bit safer than bikes in some regard.
But I never raced Speedway.
No.
No, I don't. I'm a bit more shiny than that. But that one there's Bruce Church written on there. So Church, he was one of Dad's mates from the boats, and he worked on the mine. Was in the trade. His brother was in the trade, and they bought a GT Falcon, XW GT, with a burnt out engine bay.
As you do. Yeah.
chopped it up, turned it into a stock car. So there goes another one.
GTs go quicker and...
So that was built down the workshop, and I
Yep.
put it in for a couple of reasons. One is the fact that I was around when that's happening, so you're learning a bit more and seeing how things are done. And then while that's going on, my brother decided that he'd do up a car. So he's bought a car from the dealership, got traded in. It was a shearer's car and had a hell of a hard
You
time.
didn't have to detail this one.
No, but he did in big time.
Big time.
So him and our cousin Roger Radford, give it a birthday, similar to what we do now. And the old spray job on the dirt with a bit of water down.
Pretty cool when you can buy new parts at the time as well.
It makes a difference. Yeah, so I'll have a
None of
bonnet,
this
guard,
new old
couple of doors. They're probably
Nice and easy.
$80 each.
Yep.
So, and then it turned into that, and I still remember that to this day. That the look of that car and
Very
the way
clean.
it was, and that was his driver.
Yep.
And then I'm sure that he towed the stock car with that when he bought it off Churchy. So that's why that comes through.
Yeah.
So he then went super modified. Or
As you can see.
might have been modified.
Modified.
Yeah. And the big wheels did reasonably well with that. Obviously beat it up a bit. And then he tells me that was happened at Rowley Park. Went down there and someone took him out. And then that sort of was just another chapter.
Yep.
Where I'm seeing all this going on.
Another influence.
And I'm
Howard.
getting excited, you know. So, meanwhile, back at the dealership, Dad's decided, or someone's decided, that I've had enough of the workshop, you better move up and start selling cars.
So we've gone detailing, spare parts, service advisor. Okay, sell some cars. How old are you now?
20,
20.
maybe. That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So, I'm under the pump.
Yep.
And I'm still having a good time, obviously. I'm having a few parties and getting out there doing a few things. So I've come home one night. I'd had a few drinks Friday night, and Dad had been somewhere and he'd had a couple and crossed paths in the kitchen. So we've had that discussion,
That high-level discussion.
high-level discussion. And I've sort of said, mate, I think, the pressure's a bit much. What do you want from me? And, it got heated and I told him to jam it. And so then he sold his share.
Yeah, a bit dramatic, but yeah,
So-
these things happen.
That's the way it goes. So the upside, right, is the fact that we're getting out. So we're sitting down for Christmas dinner. So this has got to be Christmas '76.
Yep.
And he comes out. We're sitting around. We've had lunch, and he goes, "Righto, the dealership's going. So we better get some cars before we go. So work out what you want."
It's a nice Christmas present.
And we're sort of going, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, work out what sort of Falcon you want or whatever you want, and
Yep.
we'll get them organised before we get out." So the dilemma is, what do you have? Young bloke.
Single, young bloke. It's got to be a van.
So I don't know whether it was Reg or I, but one of us come up with a van, so we both got a van. So we ended up both with 351 vans, and my sister ended up with a 351 GXL.
Yep.
So that becomes the upside. The downside is now I'm not the boss's son anymore, and I'm still there. Except I got the shunt. I've gone back to spare parts,
Ooh.
so I'm back sort of where I started. But
Yep.
I mean, life goes on. You're only 20,
Yep.
having a good time. So
Single, got a van.
I'm getting a bit of grief. like I got no protection.
No.
So I'm still being me, but I've got no protection. So times got a bit tough, and I was out the Speedway, as we used to do a lot back then, and a mate of mine was involved with Speedway, was the manager of Repco.
Right.
And he said, why don't you, I was telling him, getting a bit tough, he said, come and work for me. And I've gone, all right. So we had a bit of a chat and worked out something, and then I've gone home to Dad, and I've gone I've got my first job. Because when I came home from school...
I got the job.
Yeah, I got the job,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, it's silly, I go, if you're going to do that, why don't you come and work in the family business? And I'm going...
You didn't offer it to me.
I'm still happy with that. So anyway, I looked after my mate.
Yep.
He got someone else, and I went and worked for the family at the motel. And that had been... Dad started that, and it's in 72, so we're now 78, 79, something like that. And I've moved over there. So the hilltop, that shot there is the old postcard.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how it looked when I started at the property. And then that's the earlier shot that when I was sort of growing up, going to school and that sort of stuff. Dad was building that. And then he bought another property that come up real cheap. That was an old koala motel, and I'll tell some stories about that as we go down the other
the Silver
process.
Haven, yes.
Yeah, the Silver Haven Motel,
Yep.
and that was in the main drag. So there was the two properties, and my role was to basically do maintenance and lawns and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So swap jobs, got the van.
Yep.
Brother's got his van. He decides to get a new boat. So I've thrown these photos in because the boat trailer there, he's bought a boat that, as we are, he's bought the hull.
Yep.
Then you build a trailer and then you put your motor in and fit it out and do all that sort of
Customise
stuff.
it, make it fit.
So mate of my brother's, Kim Hooper, was a welder on the mine, and he used to help Reg with the trailers.
Yep.
And then Hoops, when I needed something welded on the cars, Kim started teaching me. And Kim's still got a really nice two-door Falcon himself today. So I put that in because it's funny how things play along. So he's building trailers.
Yep.
And then, I'm hanging around, and then you see there, Hooper's trailers on the back of the trailer. And then he's the guy that teaches me to weld. And now I'm doing what I do.
You're pretty good welder now. Yeah.
Not too bad. So then that's
40
the boat.
years of experience.
So that's the boat up the lake. So brother's got a boat. I'm only a young fella, so we're up doing a bit of skiing and hanging out. And then, so that's us holding the boat there.
Yeah. That's that rowing body from college days.
Yeah, I wish I still had that. So, I don't know, got to be 1920 or something there. So then we're up the lake and I spotted this nice young lady that turns out to end up being my wife.
There you go.
So I don't know about the sequence of photos, but I found some and I got permission to put them up, so that's all right.
We'll run with that.
We'll run with that.
Yeah.
So obviously we're all pretty young, so it got serious real early. So
Must be when you bring her home to meet the family.
So she's home meeting the family the first Christmas after a couple of months.
Yep.
Give her the friendship ring. Asked her to go out.
Oh, serious, heavy.
You got to do the right thing.
Heavy stuff, yeah.
And then there's Christmas with my sister and
Yep.
a couple of the nieces and a niece and a nephew.
Yep.
And my mum. So things are looking good. New job. Got the van.
Got the
girlfriend.
Ooh.
Life's good. So then I'm working at the motel now, but of course Dad's still got stuff going on. So he says, like, you're obviously doing a bit with the paint, spray guns and stuff. You better paint the T model. So the T model's been in the family a long time. Bit of a family heirloom virtually.
They came in black.
Came in black. And obviously it's been used a bit. There's a bit of a day out there. Colleen and Reg in the back with a couple of girls and Dad out for a cruise at one of the parades or whatever. So I'm down the workshop giving it a bit of a birthday with acrylic. And of course we're back at the workshop. We've got bitumen now, so we've moved on a little bit. And there's Mum and Dad obviously on one of the parades after the paint job. And you can see Dad's got the camera in his hand while he's driving, of course.
I'm sure Mum's happy because she's not in the sidecar this time.
A bit of a family trait.
Yeah.
So we've now joined the van club.
Okay.
So the Western Union Van and Ute Club.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. Yeah.
A lot of vans.
A lot of vans. So I think the biggest convoy we've ever been is a couple of hundred.
Wow.
Yeah, back in 78, 79, 80.
All the dads were very nervous.
Very much so. So this is when I met my mate Fuzzy.
Yep.
So Rob Fazella, that's been, we now meet up at Summernats every year, and now that I'm the YouTuber, he's given me a bit of a hand in the hall, and so the boys have always helped out, and now his and my sons are in their late 30s, but this is where we met. And that particular day, I think we're heading up to Capey.
Yep.
For a barbie and a few games and things. So the van scene was good, and we're going to get into that later. But before we do, you might recognise that.
I've seen this one before.
Yeah, so that made a little cameo last episode.
Yeah.
That was one of Reg's toys. So I've whacked it in this time because we give the engine bay a birthday. So I'm back on the spray gun. So I'm becoming a bit known now.
Anytime it's quiet in the hotel, it's...
No, this was a weekender, this one. No, the old man wouldn't let me get away with that. This would have been a weekender.
Yep.
So, good working conditions.
Yep.
So, give everything a bit of a spray. The old acrylic's good stuff. And then the finished result out the front on the lawn.
Pretty impressive.
So, I'm 21 now.
Finally, we get to 21.
So, we painted a car.
You've lived half a lifetime already, Howard.
Yeah, I know. So, typical Broken Hill back then, mate. It was hire the hall, get the live band. Get all the family and friends in.
Yep.
A bit of a shindig.
Bit of a knees up.
got the partner in tow now, looking healthy.
Yes.
And yeah, good family shot there. I'm not sure about some colour photos, some black and white in the album. I don't know whether that was the package. You get 6 colour ones and all the rest are black and
Yeah,
white.
it cost a lot for colour back then. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit funny that one.
Yeah.
And then we progress on to the debutante ball. So Heather's outcoming.
That would have been a big deal in Broken Hill. That would have been looking forward to
Yeah.
it every year that going on.
Yeah, and Dad was big in the Rotary Club.
Yep.
So it was almost a bit of a start-up, but normally about 12 or 16 girls come out.
Yep.
And all done up to the nines and the family all there, and pretty good night at the Civic Centre. And I threw that one in because, see the plant stand?
That's what you call a heavy-duty plant stand.
So Mum used to be the flower lady. She used
Yep.
to do all the arrangements.
Yep.
And I dare say she said to Dad, I need something high and something won't fall over. So a couple of brake drums and you got the jobs done.
Yep. Yep.
So, you like the render suit, mate?
Oh, mate, it fits everywhere. It touches nowhere.
Yeah,
Got the gloves, matching hairdos.
it was a good time.
I'm very jealous, as you can tell.
Mate, we were smoking. So, we're doing the van scene now. So we've headed off to Whyalla with the van club
Yep.
and picked up a trophy. So I'm a bit of a hoarder, as you know. So there it is. So
That's the first one.
the Western Region Van Show top 5
Ooh.
and third van.
Third van.
So, geez, they used to tell you what position you
Yeah,
come.
it should be top 3, Howard, not
Yeah.
top 5.
So Whyalla Panel Van Club.
Yep.
So yeah, there was a group of us went down and we had a bit of a good time down
Yep.
there. So there I am in front of the van with the trophy.
Yep.
Proud as punch.
Proud as punch.
Proud as punch.
I bet you wouldn't sit on your car bonnet these days,
No,
Howard.
you're probably right. So it was it was almost like the enlightening of the trophy hunter.
Yep.
So
Like,
you know,
wow.
we've gone away, we've had a good time, we've got a result, we've camped out, we've had a few drinks, as you do,
Yes.
and I think the girls had a few wines that day, sitting around having a good time, and then there's I think the first showing of Fuzz.
Yep.
So that's the face. So the Wolfman, mate.
The Wolfman.
The
I can see why they called him the Wolfman.
Yep. So
But I am impressed with the jacket, Howard. So the
You like
Adidas
that?
jacket.
you like the
Yeah.
jacket?
It was all the rage, wasn't it? You get the patches and you'd sew them on and that sort of thing.
Well,
and
I think
believe there's
I
a
think
little
I got to say, I
something
think
here.
you've had a little
I had a little
sneaky look.
sneaky look. I did.
So this was Heather's jacket.
Yes.
Right?
She's still the same
it definitely
size.
wasn't my jacket. Yeah. So it's got the Magnum Force and the Ford. So you bought
Yep.
yourself the Adidas jacket, and
Yep.
then we had the matching jackets. So we had all the gear.
Yeah. Well, that's why you won a trophy, obviously.
That's right, mate.
Yeah.
Learned early. So we were having a ball. We really were. And we started doing a few shows. And what I'm going to do now is expand on that
Yep.
next time. So that
This
sort
is-
of gets us
that's
to
your-
where
that's
we've
your
got
tease,
that first
yeah.
trophy.
Yep.
And what I'm going to bring to everybody next time is the fact that we then evolved the van, got it better,
Yep.
worked our way up till we got some big trophies and built a house and had babies, which means we don't fit in the van.
Not comfortably, no.
So that's how we ended up building a sedan. So that'll be next time.
Yep.
So thanks again for your time, Dale.
No, thanks, Howard. It's been fun.
It is fun.
Learning a lot.
Especially when you get it right the second or third time and we don't have to retake it too often. But like, we really appreciate everyone following and enjoying the show because the numbers are pretty good. But do us a favour. If you can, subscribe to the channel. It just helps what we're doing. This one's an unsponsored thing. This is just something I'm doing because I've always wanted to do it. But it helps if you subscribe. Make some comments. I'll get back to you.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button. And
That helps.
we'll keep growing. I've got to keep digging through photos. So every 2 weeks this will come up. And on the alternate week to that, we'll be still bringing Road to Top 60 as we get that one finished.
Yep.
Thanks, Dale.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
No worries. See you all.
Cheers.